A very good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of the Business News Summary on Independent Television Abuja. I'm Kiru Obuli. Starting off, after months of waiting, the Senate screened nominees for the post of Deputy Governor and Monetary Policy Committee members of the Central Bank of Nigeria. National Assembly's correspondent Osaoname Bizwe reports that the Senate reversed its earlier decision not to screen the nominees following pressures from several quarters. The report.
Monday's screening exercise of nominees for the position of deputy governors and members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria is sequel to the decision of the upper chamber of the National Assembly to temporarily lift the embargo it placed on approval of nominees of the president. A decision the Senate says is in the best interest of the economy.
Permission and indulgence of our colleagues, the Senate resolved to mandate the committee to commence further legislative action on the request of Mr. President to screen the following nominees. The screening is in line with Section 8.1 and Section 10.1 of the CBN Act 2007. I assure you that at the end of this exercise, the committee on its own path will perform its statutory function and report back to the Senate in line with its mandate.
Aisha Ahmad and Edward Lamatek Adamu, nominees of President Muhammadu Buhari for the positions in Nigeria's Apex Bank, appeared before the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and other financial institutions.
I had the privilege of being in several committees that I think gave me a unique overview of what the central bank does. One of them is the Monetary Policy Committee. I was at every meeting as an observer. I was also at the meetings of the Financial Services Regulatory Coordinating Committee as an observer. I was also at Bankers Committee, in addition to several other committees in the bank that I had the privilege of being. I was also part of the design and implementation of some of the programs of Central Bank that have been able to assist us to come out of some of the challenges that we've been facing in the economy.
Professionally, I am a seasoned finance and banking executive. I have over 22 years experience, primarily in financial services. From my first job at First Interstate Bank in the Treasury Department, I have worked in various local banks, in commercial banking, retail banking, private banking. Within that time, I also had a brief stint at the Bank of New York Mellon in London.
The senators expectedly quizzed Mrs. Aisha Ahmad on a number of issues geared towards repositioning the nation's ailing economy, with particular focus on how to improve the value of the naira, among other matters.
Now, what can you bring to bear, looking at the foreign exchange business in this country, to be able to stabilize? We know that within the period under review, we try to see a kind of stabilization on the foreign exchange business, but I think it's not enough because importers have not been encouraged. What can you do, to help, stabilize the importation, the exportation vis-a-vis the foreign exchange in this country?
Mrs. Aisha Ahmad, in her response to the questions, says the fundamental problem with Nigeria's economy is its overdependence on revenue from oil.
One of the key challenges that we face is the fact of our over-reliance on oil and our sensitivity to changes in the price and the availability of oil. The real actions that we need to take concern diversifying our economy, diversifying the sources of FX. It's a simple demand and supply situation. The investors and exporters window, what it has done for us is to provide some assurance, some liquidity, some transparency in that market in terms of price discovery.
And the World Bank has commenced preparations for the $500 million Nigerian electricity distribution improvement project. It was learned that the bank had conducted a fact-finding mission in the distribution subsector of the industry in order to ascertain how it could help boost service delivery to the power distributors. Again, Osaoname Bizwe has more.
The World Bank has commenced preparations for the $500 million Nigerian electricity distribution improvement project. It was learned that the bank had conducted a fact-finding mission in the distribution subsector of the industry in order to ascertain how it could help boost service delivery by the power distributors. Documents made available to newsmen in Abuja on Nigerian's power sector recovery program revealed that the global financial institution had met with officials of the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, and other operators in the sector as regards the development. The PSRP, which is domiciled at the headquarters of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, stated that the World Bank conducted a fact-finding mission that would foster project development for the distribution subsector support. The PSRP also stated that the Nigerian Electricity Transmission Assets Project recently got approval for $486 million from the World Bank. It said the World Bank has approved a credit of $486 million for Nigeria's electricity transmission substations rehabilitation. This is part of a financial support aimed at achieving a viable power sector through the PSRP implementation. The Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Dr. Mekanti Baru, has assured Nigerians that the era of fuel scarcity is gone for good. Dr. Baru said the corporation learned a great lesson during the recent fuel scarcity. He said most of the PMC depots in Ejigbo, Moshimi, Ibadan and other parts of the nation have sufficient product for distribution now. Adding that NNPC is discussing with security operatives to stop smuggling of petroleum products across our borders. Also speaking, Dr. Diron Fawibe, Chairman, International Energy Services, urged NNPC to ensure that the nation's refineries worked to their full capacities. According to Fawibe, the oil and gas sector is a major sustainer of the nation's economy. The Nigerian Interbank Settlement System has disclosed that point-of-sale transactions increased by 54.3% to 1.41 trillion naira in 2017 as more retail merchants embraced POS as a means of transactions. It stated in a report that POS transactions in 2016 were worth 0.76 trillion naira, while in 2015 they were 0.45 trillion naira from 0.31 trillion naira in 2014. The report read in part transactions on POS were impressive in 2017, setting a milestone of over 1.4 trillion naira in value in 2017. Furthermore, volume of transactions recorded a 92% compound annual growth rate between 2014 and 2017. The NIBSS reported 146.27 million volume of POS transactions in 2017 from 63.72 million in 2016. Volume of transactions on POS was 33.72 million in 2015, 20.82 million in 2014, 9.42 million in 2013, and 2.59 million in 2012. The report stated that 0.63 million unique cards carried out POS transactions in 2017. The NIBSS stated that registered POS terminal closed 2017 at 182,800, while connected and active POS terminals last year were 155,600 and 105,000 respectively.
The Honorable Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, said Tuesday that the country's economic outlook for the year 2018 and beyond was positive. She said the country was now resilient after exiting recession and had the potential to achieve a 7% economic growth in the next 2 to 3 years. The minister gave the assurance at the 4th Ogun State Investors Forum attended by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, Ogun State Governor Senator Ibikunle Amosun, former President of Mexico Mr. Felipe Calderoni, and eminent persons and captains of industries. Adeosun said the current administration has succeeded in building macroeconomic resilience for the country, particularly reversing the funding mix, rebuilding fiscal buffers, enhancing foreign exchange reserves, and focusing on import substitution strategies. The Nigerian economy had returned to growth in the second quarter of 2017 after 5 consecutive quarters of negative growth. The minister said the quick reversal of the recession meant less damage was done to the economy and provided an opportunity for faster positive growth. Adeosun said as revenue and growth continued or returned, the government will increase the fiscal space for infrastructure spending. According to her, revenue mobilization is potentially the master key to unlocking Nigeria's huge growth potential and funding the infrastructure programs. And the Naira started the week with a 12-kobo appreciation to 360.45 Naira per dollar in the investors and exporters window, even as the Central Bank of Nigeria injected $210 million into the foreign exchange market. For the details of this and other stories on Business News, let's join Elfie Ewari.
The Naira yesterday started the week with 12-kobo appreciation to 360.45 Naira per dollar in the investors and exporters window, even as the Central Bank of Nigeria injected $210 million into the foreign exchange market. Acting Director, Corporate Communications Department, Mr. Isaac Okorafor, confirmed the injection, saying that the Central Bank of Nigeria offered $100 million to authorized dealers in the wholesale segment of the market, while the small and medium segment got the sum of $55 million. Customers in need of foreign exchange for invisibles such as tuition fees, medical payments, and basic travel allowance, among others, were also allocated the sum of $55 million. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) yesterday said it is poised to go paperless in its operations within the shortest possible time through the conversion of all its documents and other papers into digital formats. Group Managing Director of the corporation, Maikanti Baru, in a statement said it has inaugurated 2 committees, the Systems Applications and Product Steering Committee. He said the committees would be responsible for holistic implementation of SAP and would also emplace enterprise resource planning, which will serve as enablers for the achievement of the corporation's success. Baru said SAP was the platform for driving the transformation agenda of NNPC and the 12 business focus areas, which include ensuring security of the industry assets, developing new business models, among others. He stated that the platform had the potential to significantly influence the corporation's ability to compete, operate effectively, and create value. Provision of electricity meters will no longer be the exclusive preserve of distribution companies, DISCOs, as the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NEC) has introduced another class of operators known as meters asset providers, MAPs. Prepaid meters given the hint, the Commissioner, Legal, Licensing and Compliance (NEC), Mr. Dafe Ekpeneye, said MAPs would help to stem the tide of meter scarcity experienced presently by electricity consumers in the country. Speaking at a forum with consumers, DISCOs, financials and other stakeholders, Ekpeneye said NEC views the scarcity of meters as a very serious concern and will do everything possible across the industry to solve the problem.
The Kaduna Inland Container Depot has received an international certification and has been issued with a station code according to the Nigerian Shippers Council, just as the National Assembly warns of an impending crisis in the banking sector. Let's join Catherine Eyamese for this and more on Business News.
The Nigerian Shippers Council (NSC) says the Inland Container Depot located in Kaduna State has received international certification and the port has been issued with a station code. With this development, the Kaduna ICD has been bestowed a port status. This is expected to ease congestion of the Lagos ports and reduce vessel dwell time. It will also lead to reduction in the cost of cargo clearance of the nation's port, as well as bring relief to shippers in the northern area that had to come to Lagos to clear their consignments. The National Assembly has warned of impending crisis in the banking sector over non-performing loans, which it says is worse now than the one witnessed in 2008 to 2010. Chairman, House of Representatives Committee on Banking and Currency, John Chukwudi Onyerere, said there is need for the banking supervising agency, Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, and the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to stop the situation from degenerating into a crisis. Onyerere stressed the need for banks not to give loans without the relevant security and above the acceptable level. He noted that the House, on its own part, has amended the Banking and Other Financial Institutions Act because of insider abuse. The Naira Tuesday appreciated further by 15 kobo to 360.30 Naira to a dollar in the investors and exporters window of the foreign exchange markets. Data from the Financial Market Dealers Quote showed that the indicative exchange rate for the INE, known as Nigeria Autonomous Foreign Exchange, dropped to 360.30 Naira per dollar Tuesday from 360.45 Naira per dollar on Monday, indicating a 15 kobo increase in the value of Naira. Recall that Naira also appreciated by 12 kobo on Monday from $360.57 Friday last week. The strengthening of the Naira was in spite of the $2.29 million decline in the volume of dollars traded in window. The window recorded a turnover of $166.22 million Tuesday, down from $168.51 million traded on Monday.
The House of Representatives is urging the Central Bank of Nigeria to publish a list of certified financial institutions as well as ensure the implementation of strong regulatory and monetary laws in Nigeria. The resolution followed a motion moved by Mr. Joseph Edionwele of Edo State on the need for Nigerians to be cautious of illegal banks. National Assembly's correspondent Charity Tanko has this report.
Debating the motion, the House noted that it is the constitutional responsibility of government to ensure the security, safety and welfare of its citizens. Mr. Edionwele and other lawmakers drew the attention of the House to the activities of illegal financial institutions, also known as wonder banks.
Aware that the activities of some illegal financial institutions, also known as wonder banks, have become alarming as they defraud depositors who are often enticed by promises of unusually high returns on investments.
They said there is need for the federal government to take proactive steps to stem the activities of illegal banks that have succeeded in defrauding many Nigerians.
Central Bank should strengthen their campaign or enlightenment unit to ensure that the list is published of certified financial institutions, and also to ensure that regulatory and monitoring units carry out their functions and see that all these illegal promoters of illegal banks are brought to book.
The folly of one man is the fortune of another. If you are not careful and you allow somebody somewhere to make use of you, that means you are dumb.
Sequel to the screening of nominees earlier in the week, the Senate Thursday rejected the nomination of Dr. Ashik Madugu as a member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Apex Bank of Nigeria. The upper chamber confirmed the nomination of Professor Adeola Adenikinju, Dr. Aliyu Rafindadi, and Dr. Robert Chikwendu. National Assembly's correspondent Sawana Mebiswe completes this report.
The Senate at plenary confirmed Professor Adeola Adenikinju and Dr. Robert Chikwendu as members of the Monetary Policy Committee, saying the rejection of Dr. Ashik Madugu was due to his long years in the public service, which may hamper his productivity. The decision of the upper legislative chambers was equal to a report by the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, headed by Senator Rafiu Ibrahim.
Having been satisfied, that's our recommendation, with the academic and professional qualification, competence, work experience, suitability, and character of the aforementioned 3 nominees hereby recommend that 1, that the Senate do confirm the nomination of the following nominee of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, as member of the Monetary Policy Committee. They are Professor Adeola Festus Adenikiju, Dr. Aliu Rafindade Sanusi, Dr. Robert Chikwindi Asogwa. Then recommendation 2, that the Senate do reject the nomination of Dr. Sheikh Alhaji Maidugu as a member of the MPC. I so submit, Mr. President.
Comments if not to resolve Committee of the Whole.
In his remark, Leader of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, advised the executive to present another nominee to replace the rejected one.
Mr. President, I would advise the Senate that we should expedite action to consider the governing board, where we expect 2 more members of the MPC to emerge from. This will make complete the MPC as an institution in the CBN. I will also take this opportunity to advise the executive to present another nominee in place of Dr. Maidugu, who has been rejected. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, Senate also confirmed the nomination of Mrs. Aisha Ahmed and Mr. Edward Lamatek for appointment as Deputy Governors of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
The nomination of Mrs. Aisha Ahmed is hereby confirmed as Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The nomination of Mr. Edward Lamatek Adamu is hereby confirmed as Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
In a bid to drive financial inclusion and create employment in the country, BIGS Enterprise, in collaboration with Nigeria's Postal Service (NIPOS) and Software Group, said it is set to deploy agent banking distribution channels in the country. Let's join Chris Mario for the details of this and other reports on Business News.
In a bid to drive financial inclusion and create employment in the country, BIGS Enterprise, in collaboration with Nigerian Postal Service (NIPOS) and Software Group, said it is set to deploy agent banking distribution channels in the country. BIGS Director of Corporate Services, Greg Wamedi, disclosed this during a workshop of financial inclusion held in Lagos. He adds that the major objective of BIGS Enterprise is to provide channels to drive financial banking to rural areas, thereby rolling out an agent distribution network that will provide employment for over 10,000 Nigerians in a short time. Former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN), Professor Kingsley Moghalu, has called for constitutional repeal of the Land Use Act, stressing the act traps the wealth of Nigerian citizens in the hands of choking grip of state bureaucracy. He made a call in Lagos while speaking as a guest lecturer at the 2018 edition of the Bolon Lecture organized by the Center for Financial Journalism. Speaking on the topic overcoming poverty, the secret of the wealth of nations, Moghalu also called for an end to further foreign borrowing and deregulation of the downstream petroleum sector.
And for Business News Friday, our correspondent is standing by.
The Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation (NDIC) has urged Nigerians to be wary of wonder banks that give extraordinary interest rates and profits on investment. Its Managing Director Umaru Ibrahim gave the advice in an address at the NDIC Special Day in Enugu. Umaru, who was represented by NDIC Director of Strategy Development Festus Ikechi, said many Nigerians have continued to lose fortunes and even their life savings to Ponzi schemes and other illegal fund managers with disastrous consequences. The NDIC Managing Director said the corporation was determined to ensure the safety and soundness of the nation's financial system. Investors have continued to demonstrate interest for Federal Government of Nigeria FGN bond, staking 142.81 billion naira so far in the March 2018 series. The Debt Management Office (DMO) conducted the third in the series of FGN bond auctions for the year on March 21, 2018 to raise funds for the implementation of the 2018 budget. Bonds were offered in 3 tenures of 5, 7, and 10 years to meet the needs of the various investor categories. The Debt Office said that the auction was oversubscribed, just like the January-February auction. The total subscription of 142.81 billion naira represented about 204% of the amount offered. Benue State government has confirmed the deployment of a new payroll system into the state civil service in a bid to check fraudulent practices in its payroll. State Commissioner for Finance and Economic Planning, David Olofu, who confirmed this, said the state has engaged System Specs Remita in managing the state's salary payment and that this has really helped to get rid of fraud on the payroll. The sum of 3.5 billion naira salary fraud has recently been uncovered on the state civil service payroll following a verification exercise to ascertain the overbloated wage bill of the state. Olofu insisted that the payment of salaries needed a platform regardless of whether the payroll was prepared by civil servants or not.
And that has been the business summary on Independent Television Abuja. Many thanks for joining us. I am Nkiru Obuli. Do enjoy the rest of the day.